space, final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Boldly go where no man has gone before.
Ooh, bit of echo.
Ooh.
Okay.
Avashi Hearties.
I'll start again. Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim, and with me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
How you doing, Jim, lad?
And Dr. Squee.
Well, it's inappropriate today. Ahoy, hoy.
And as you can probably guess, we're talking about the pirate episode of Strange New Worlds, the Serene Squall. And yeah, I mean, great fun. Shall we talk about Paramount Plus first, though? Because we've had Paramount Plus launch in the UK finally. And bit of a mixed bag, just from the Star Trek perspective. I'm not commenting on anything else that's on there, but I've seen a few people online who haven't sort of taken the jump and actually signed up wanting to know exactly what's on there, what's not on there. So basically, original series is on there, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, and from the new stuff, there's all 4 seasons of Discovery. So season 4 of Discovery is now on a streaming service. Prodigy's on there, and we've got all the Prodigy episodes that have been released so far. Strange New Worlds, we've got the first 3 episodes, and the rest are going to drop weekly. So it's going to be about 4 or 5 weeks behind the US rollout. And the movies are on there up to and including Star Trek 09. There's no Into Darkness, no Beyond. And because it doesn't support 4K as of yet, in the UK at least, we've not got the 4K director's cut of the motion picture. The animated series isn't on there, nor are the short treks. So,
And to begin with, you said that, you showed me the Encounter and Farpoint wasn't on there, but it is now.
Encounter and Farpoint was not on there yesterday when they sort of did a little bit of a sneaky kind of soft launch. But it is on there now.
Now, I know why they're doing it with Strange New Worlds. I imagine with Picard and Lower Decks, they've not got the rights back from Amazon.
Yes, I would think that's the case.
And I imagine Amazon, it wouldn't surprise me if Amazon have got them over a barrel going, no, we're not selling you the rights back. Because I imagine they tried doing the same as what with Discovery.
Because I'd say there's 2 things on that. One is, I mean, in a second you can go into why they've done it with Strange New Worlds, because I don't get that at all. But also with the other ones, I mean, they've known for a while they were doing this. So why they gave Amazon rights which were going to be prohibitive seems mad to me.
Well, it's taken 2 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, but like they knew they were launching in America, so they knew eventually they'd be selling the rights around the world. Why tie themselves into a deal which is going to go beyond when they're potentially going to be doing this?
It might have been one of them where it's a case of Amazon said, if we're going to do it, we want exclusivity for X number of years.
Yeah.
And it was just too much money to turn down at the time. I really don't know. But the fact is now, if you want all of Star Trek, and I don't know where Into Darkness and Beyond are, or even if they're on any of the streamers, but if you want absolutely everything, you would need Prime, Netflix, and Paramount Plus in the UK, and then probably buy the DVD of Into Darkness and Beyond.
Now, I imagine with the movies that it's probably a marketing thing that because what they're looking at is they don't want people signing up for the 1 week, and then they don't want the couple sort of going, right, I've had my week. Now you do your week. And after a fortnight going that, they've watched everything. So next month, it won't surprise me if we get the rest of Star Trek drops onto it.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at other content. There's lots of the new Paramount Plus content that we haven't got yet.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be dropped in stages to keep people hooked.
Well, yeah, but I don't get that. I don't get the rationale. I mean, like we were talking
I
on
don't.
the retrack track that we have about how, you know, if you don't launch something when it gets launched in other countries, you're inviting piracy, basically. I'm sorry, you just are. Like, whether or not you think that's right, it is a fact these days. And also the thing of, like, yeah, with Strange New Worlds, like, surely you want to give a nice big hook, like launch all the episodes, then do it weekly after that. I do not get the way they've done this. It just seems, especially seeing as streaming services are the way of the future, and there's such a battle for them, even pricing themselves slightly cheaper than the other ones. The idea that you know, that you're going to do this in this way and you're not going to have all your ducks in a row before you do it. You know, like if they knew 2 years ago they were going to be doing this, even the fact that they launched the other Trek shows, I understand wanting to kind of like get Trek back in people's minds, but it's like, it seems weird that they didn't launch it with their services. I don't know.
It seems weird that they couldn't launch it worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those where because people do or did, before every studio had their own streamer, they used to farm stuff out to Netflix, to Amazon, and you'd have to wait until the rights came back. And that's why Disney was delayed in this country, because they had to wait to get a lot of the stuff back.
But they waited for that.
Well, yeah, but they did the same thing with The Mandalorian. I think it was on in November in the US. We didn't get it till March, by which time all 10 episodes were available. And they still did it weekly.
Did they do it weekly with the first series?
Yeah.
Oh, I've forgotten that. I thought they'd yeah, no, I remember now you say it. Yeah, it still seems crazy.
I think with Strange New Worlds, it's if we drop 3 episodes now, in order to watch the whole season, you will have to pay at least 2 months of a subscription. So in theory, it gets people in. But yeah, I would have been happier if I could have watched the Serene Squall this morning on Paramount Plus, but
on the platform I've just bought, I'd have liked to have been able to.
It wasn't to be, but anyway, let's talk about the episode then. So, I mean, obviously pirates are going to feature quite heavily.
Yeah, for anyone who's listening on the audio, by the way, Elliot is dressed as a pirate right now. And I was finding distracting through that whole first conversation we had that on his good eye with the eye patch, the kind of like bit of string was going over the good eye. And now, he's replaced. I was just going to say, now it's on his third eye on his forehead, and now it's back on the eye. You're just going to be distracting me with that all episode, aren't you, Elliot?
So patches can be very confusing.
They can. Well, I tried lighting my cig, and that's why I had to move the patch, because I couldn't focus properly with one eye.
It's when you had the string over your good eye that it was just really distracting. It's like, why have you just completely blinded yourself?
So, we talked about the other week how we're starting with these logs of who the key character is going to be. And it throws it for a little bit of a curve on this one, because we start with a personal log from T'Pring, which, I'll be honest, I'm amazed that T'Pring's still sticking around. They've obviously got it planned out what the arc is going to be with her. Every time she turns up, I think, oh, right, they're doing another T'Pring. Maybe this will be the last time we see T'Pring. And it hasn't been so far. But she's working at this Vulcan rehabilitation center, which we've heard mentioned before. And apparently the ideology of this place seems to be that they say, okay, if you've committed a crime, it's because you've given in to your emotions, so we're going to help purge you of your emotions. And it may be because I watched an episode of Farscape this week where it was the one where they sort of brainwash the guy who was a baddie who tortured Rigel, and they make him into a goodie, but it turns out it hasn't fully worked. Anyway, and in that episode, it feels like it's a bit of a commentary on like conversion therapy and things like that. And so that jumped into my mind on this. It's like, usually the Vulcans are the good guys, but it's like this does seem to at least flirt with the idea that what they're doing here might not be the right thing to do. Like to assume just because you're a criminal, it has to be related to your emotions and therefore they must be purged. It seems a little bit extreme. And I don't think they necessarily.
To be fair, if we look at Enterprise set up like the Vulcan history,
Yeah.
And all that, though, where they had been very emotional, and that's when they had the wars and all that.
Yeah, I can see.
And it's sort of a philosophical thing that they've done, where they don't acknowledge the emotions, they purge themselves.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't purged themselves of emotions, they suppress the emotions.
Yeah. I can see where the Vulcans are coming from, but I'm not sure where that sits, as we usually view Vulcans as the good guys, and I'm not sure how this makes me feel about T'Pring, that she's involved with this sort of thing. I think I think maybe it's intentionally a little bit grey, and they don't seem to, as of yet, spend a huge amount on it. Though the way this episode finishes, I think we are going to have to deal with this a little bit more. But I just found it interesting.
You see, I never thought of it like that. I mean, to me, it's more like, like we would treat someone who was out of touch with their emotion. We might do some therapy on them, especially if they were going towards criminality. I feel like this is just that it's a cultural difference for them, for a mind to be working healthy. If they're a pure Vulcan, that is purely using logic. So to repair someone who isn't thinking straight according to them, they would use this therapy. I don't know. I never really considered it.
Yeah, I can see why the Vulcans do it, but from an outsider's perspective, it doesn't necessarily sit that right. But
see, I just considered that as to be, like a again, like cultural differences which Starfleet has to respect. It's like it may not be our way, but
no, I'm sure Starfleet might respect it, but I would have maybe expected a bit more of a discussion around it. But as I say, I think the way this episode finishes, which obviously we'll get to, I don't think we're done with this place. So
no,
we may well come back to some of that stuff.
I mean, we'll get on to the end in a bit, but I must admit now, when I see T'Pring at the beginning of the episode, my heart sinks a little. I've got to be honest with you. I think they've given a lot of real estate to their relationship in a 10-episode series, and it just, I don't know. Like this episode, I feel might have even been stronger without her and without the love story in there. However, obviously with the setup at the end, it was necessary. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff like at the start, I'm researching human sex by reading mucky books, and Spock even does like a spit take when she says I'm researching human, and it's like, I know, Squee, you pick up on these things probably much more than I do, but that for me did stand out as I
mean, I've even got behind the idea of Spock being more human in this, and he's exploring his human side at this point of his journey. Fair enough, but then you need to make the rest of the Vulcans so logical as a difference to that's what shows you what the difference is. At the moment, they're making the mistake they've done on some other Star Treks post Next Generation. I think, like we've said before, Voyager was probably the last example where they did it really well. Most of the time, they just make Vulcans slightly pissy and make that mean logical. Pissy isn't the same as logical. It's not the same thing. It's just not. And this is probably the best she's written for in a logical way. And still, there's these moments where she just gets, as I say, pissy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of in two minds about T'Pring. Like, I've not objected particularly to anything specific she's done, and I am sure that the writers know where they're going with this. But every time I'm just like, okay, you're going to wrap it up now so that it fits in with where we are in a mock time. And they've got a long time to do that. It's been established that this is at least 10 years before that, so that there's plenty of room to do it.
I think the thing which in this one, which I was, they showed in this one, they did do a bit of the kind of like hand movement when they would, the later bit.
Yeah.
They did, they kind of like finger touching was the way they showed kind of their version of kissing or mating or whatever in the original series. And they do a little bit of this later in this episode. However, when they're talking about exploring human sexuality, basically they've just showed Vulcan sexuality to be the same. Again, there's no difference. There's nothing which makes a Vulcan stand out. They're kind of feels like just selling out the character traits of Vulcans. I don't know.
Though I do feel like they are starting to get into where Spock stands with it. So there's the bit where he says, nothing will compare to seeing you in person. And I just don't buy that is legitimately how he feels. And I think that's intentional in the writing and in the performance, that we're meant to go, is Spock just going through the motions here? I don't think he's into this as...
Now, I wonder if, like, this story's have to play out, that she realises it has been Spock going through the motions, and that's why she moves on in the mock time.
Yeah, I think that might well be the case. And
she's made the effort, and then she realised, no, he was just going through the motions.
Yeah, she'll get sick of it and go, look, we're still betrothed, but I don't want to see you until you pom far now because there's nothing here, you know?
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that those scenes would have been so much more impactful where she does make the effort of trying to kind of come over to his human emotional side, if until now she'd been so logical, and if they'd been doing the hand movements as opposed to kissing, when they did kiss, it would have been so much more impactful. That would have been such a huge moment, but now it's nothing because that's what they were doing all along. They could have made that so much bigger, so much better. And again, then I would have bought, okay, she's making the effort for him. Despite her logic, she does love him at this point, and that's what, and maybe him being like this is what makes her hate humans and go back towards a more Vulcan way later. That would have made so much more sense. As it is, it just doesn't.
I do think we're going to get there, but we're going around the houses to get there. Chapel's been very flirty again, which, you know, is fair enough. I like the fact that they acknowledge, last time you asked me for advice, it didn't work out so well.
Can I just raise a point with this, though? Like, it basically shows Nurse Chapel and Spock being besties in this series, it seems. Yeah. And then when you see the original series, and again, I know he's shedded his emotions, and you know, more so at that stage. And she's, you know, she's older, she's gone through all this other stuff. But Jesus Christ, it just makes later Spock seem like a cold bastard. That was your best friend, and it's not like he doesn't have friendships in the future. So
yeah,
all I can think is they have to do something really nasty to make
the
it
end of this. Is the start of their friendship sort of breaking down, where they're not bestie friends anymore.
Yeah,
who wants to watch that happen?
That she can't deal with that side.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're heading for a lot of heartbreak at some point with all. Well, we know we must be. So
I just don't want to see that happen between them. Like, if they're going to be besties now, again, Spock in the original series isn't a prick. He's not an asshole. He's just unemotional, you know, and feels like he has to do something pretty dickish for them to lose that friendship now.
No, maybe he does, but we'll find out. So yeah, we meet the ambassador who turns out to be the pirate. Spoilers.
Captain Angel.
Captain Angel. And I love how they sort of say Pike's a Boy Scout, and Pike's really embarrassed and sort of
about this. It's in your record.
I liked it, but do you think he really is a Boy Scout? He doesn't. He breaks rules all the time.
Yeah, but they have also said, like, they kept him out of the fight with the Klingons in Discovery because he was the best of us.
Yeah.
So it is something that's being played on as his character. That
I guess just in Strange New Worlds, since they've started, every episode he's broken one rule or another by Starfleet, which isn't very Boy Scoutish.
Like,
it was a fun moment.
After what are we on 54 years of Star Trek now, I'm quite used to captains breaking rules. It seems like it's
but then I wouldn't call
him
Boy Scout.
Job. You only become a captain if you can break rules.
No. I'm not complaining about him breaking rules. I'm just saying, if he breaks rules, if he was a Boy Scout who would follow all the rules, is my point.
He was just really, really good up until this point.
It seems like every week, Admiral April is always saying, "It's like, oh, for Christ's sake, no! I called in a lot of favors to get you out of this pickle this time."
He was a lot more straight-laced in the cage, so maybe that's where he got the reputation from, and now he's rebelling again.
Well, he has found out that he's only got so long to live.
True.
Now he's going to die, so that's maybe changed him.
He's definitely.
I'm quite sure, actually, that'd change any of us.
Yeah, it just seems an interesting time to call him Boy Scout when he's breaking a rule every week.
Maybe Boy Scout's not quite the right word. Maybe, I mean, he's certainly like the poster boy for Starfleet, regardless.
Yeah, they have acknowledged here that it is the flagship. So.
Yeah.
And then Arden sort of See, this is another one of these things that Strange New Worlds is doing really well, that when you know what dramatic movements are coming later in a story and you look back on it, you do see a lot of setup. Like Arden says later, or Angel says later in the episode, like, I've been manipulating your emotions all along.
Oh, yeah.
And when you watch it back and see every interaction, that's exactly what they're doing, because like this first bit, they're talking about Kulinar and Spock says, oh, I'm looking forward to mine. And it's just planting that first little seed, which is going to be developed even further.
By the way,
it goes on.
On the same point, is it just me, or at the point when she goes like, maybe you're not human or Vulcan? Like, what am I then? I was just waiting for him to say, I am Spock. Like, was it just me? Like, it just seemed like such a setup, considering the...
Haven't they already done that, though? Or was it in the trailer where he says, I am simply Spock?
No, but I am Spock exactly would have been the
yeah.
But yeah, it just seemed like I felt like they set me up to think that, and then subverted my expectations on purpose.
And then at the end, he could have said, I am not Spock.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, so there is a lot of manipulation going on, and watching it the second time, I did find it really enjoyable, because you're like, yeah, you are getting played like a fiddle, Spock, in this episode.
Yeah.
Just really.
And a
the
shout out,
Spock wouldn't have fallen for it.
The apparently the actor who plays Angel is the first non-binary villain. Like the person who plays it is non-binary, apparently. So first non-binary villain.
I know. I've read reports of that, and fine.
I read that.
If that's what she is, fine. But it's her acting ability, and she plays a great character. I really love this character, and I'm really glad that it looks like we're going to see a lot more of this character.
Yeah, I mean,
I was thinking, is this the Harry Mudd of Strange New World?
It could well be, yeah. I mean, my understanding of it from interviews that I've read is that the actor uses she or they pronouns, whereas the character is referred to as they, so the character's non-binary. But nothing big is made of that in this episode. I only noticed it on second watching of it, that they do use they pronouns when they're talking about Angel.
You see, I didn't even notice that. I assumed that I thought the character was a she, her, pronoun.
Apparently not. But that, and I think it's getting rightly a lot of praise for the representation, for the way it's being dealt with, that the character's just there, and that's that.
It's not thrown down your...
Yeah,
it's not thrown in your face.
And
it also means it's naturalized.
Yeah, has nothing to do with the character or the plot or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I suppose one way you could read it, because the actor is a trans woman, so you could read it that there is a little bit of this sort of, the dialogue could be read as allegorical in that sense, because there's this talk about you could be one thing, you could be another thing, you need to make a choice, Spock, and so there's a degree of that could be read into it, and I'm sure it was
pretty good
written to have.
She says it great at the end, doesn't she? She goes, it doesn't matter what you are. The real question is who you are.
Yeah,
I mean, what I really liked about it was that, I'd raised the point when they had the first non-binary character in Discovery, that they did make a big thing of like, actually, I like to be called they, whereas if this is meant to be that far in the future, I would hope it was normalized more how they show it here.
Yeah.
I think for me, if you're going to show it, and you raised the point at the time that it's like, well, obviously Star Trek's got to reflect the times it's written in as well as the time it's set in. But I just like this much better, because it just seemed like it's treating people how they would want to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just seems natural, I really enjoyed the character.
There was one post though I did see where the post which told me this, which, as I say, I didn't even notice. I think it was that well written that was naturalized. But someone posted about it, and I was reading the comments below, loads of other people being supportive, and then goes like, wow, I didn't even realize, I just thought she was hot as hell. It's like, you're the reason why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, she's as hot as hell.
They are as hot as hell. I am not arguing that point. It's just like when everyone's praising the fact that we've had this moment, it's like, the
fact that they changed their outfit when the villain, we should have guessed the villain reveal was going to come a little bit earlier. Because while they're acting as the ambassador and everything, it's all very formal, blah, blah, blah. And then they come into Spock's quarters all of a sudden wearing this slinky dress. And it's like, when you look back, you're like, that's a villain's outfit.
Yeah.
I realize straight away.
Good point.
But yeah, there's a great conversation with Spock where Angel talks about logic and things like that. And Spock says, well, it's not to do with me being human or Vulcan. It's the fact I was raised on Vulcan. He says, that's just biology. And then Angel says, but that's just geography, Spock. And it's like, you've caught him in a logic.
Yeah.
You've used logic against him.
See, again, I love that. Like like using Vulcan's logic against them. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I always love that. Like, McCoy was always teasing Spock and stuff. Yeah, that's great use.
And then Pike decides to lead the away team, and there is acknowledged in dialogue, like, okay, you're going over, and he's like, be fine. So he's not a Boy Scout, so he's not going to follow the rules. But you know what? The payoff to the fact that Pike leads this away team is great. So he has so much fun with this. Again, it's Anson Mount. He just has fun always.
This is another clue that we should have got. Who's coming at the end reveal was going to be someone else, because the Orion who's making out that with the captain on their desk have got that game that Tuvok used to play with Kim. That stick one. I can't remember what it's called.
Sounds like Caldecott or something like that.
Yeah.
No, that's the one Neelix plays.
Right, I know which one you mean.
You know which I mean with the six way.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah.
That's a brilliant little detail.
It's one of those things that when you first watch it, you just think, it's just a trophy he's acquired from somewhere. But then when you realise that she's actually the captain and that her husband is like the reveal, can we say who it is? We all know.
Say who it is. I think everybody knows by now.
It's Sean Connery.
If it was Sean Connery, if it was a digital resurrected
we were saying, weren't we, at the weekend, wouldn't it be great if they've got Jason Connery to play?
Get Jason Connery.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm told he's not too busy these days.
But when you look back, that Captain Angel's husband was Cyborg.
Yeah.
And she has the Vulcan game on the desk.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I didn't know that.
I mean, and I do love Anson Mount, playing the people off each other. But did they have to? Did they absolutely have to do what Discovery does every episode? Like, Discovery's ruined it for me, giving code names to things you've done in the past. Like, we're going to do a Starfleet Sansanity shuffle. Oh, no, let's do an Orion ring around, and they do that here. And it's like, sorry, Discovery's ruined that for me. I don't want to hear anything talked about in code like that again.
Yeah, it's like...
Well, the code didn't really work for long anyway, because the security officer didn't know it, did she?
No, true. And it's like, look out, one-shot comic book coming soon that shows when Pike and Una first did this trick.
I know, it's just like with Book and Michael, they just did every episode to a nauseating degree.
What about on Delta Felton Elta 9? Oh, Delta Felton 9, you'll have to read Dr. Una McCormack's novel when it comes. So when
if Una's writing it, I'm in. Sorry.
No, I mean, I've no doubt the book will be great, because the only Star Trek book of hers that I've read is the Picard tie-in, and it's fantastic. So I'm mocking more the way it was done in the show than her writing, which I'm sure.
You mean you're doing a mock?
A mock, indeed. So when the pirates attacked the bridge, then what I noticed was, so obviously the Vulcan net pinch was invented when it was in the script that Spock was just going to punch someone, and Leonard Nimoy said, no, Spock could do something much more suave, much more cool. And when you watch this, to be fair to Spock, the vast majority of it, he does engage in a little bit of hand-to-hand, but he goes for the nerve pinch.
Yeah.
Until right at the end, he just whacks a guy against the desk, and I'm like,
Thrills them.
it's 90% there. It's 90%, paying homage to what Leonard Nimoy wanted. So,
Because
it was William Shatner who sold that when Nimoy suggested it.
Yeah.
Because Nimoy went, like, look, Bill, I've got this idea, and it's got to be this. And it was like, when he did it, how William Shatner collapsed to the floor was what sold it, that it'll work.
You see, this is why I loved the idea that they kind of like basically have sex and do kissing through their fingers. I like to think there was an emotional transfer. There was, even biological transfer. Who knows what they're able to do, which also makes it bloody mucky when they use it to nerve pinch someone. You were just having sex with that hand. Come on, dude. They're dirty, dirty Vulcans.
Dirty Vulcans. The Orion captain, then. I thought it was the guy off Game of Thrones, and it is, but it's not the one I was thinking of. Because
okay.
I thought it was Tormund Giantsbane at first, and I Googled it, and it was like, oh, his acting credits, Game of Thrones. I was like, oh, I was right. Then I looked like, that's not Tormund, that's some other guy. So I was right that it was from Game of Thrones, but not who I thought. But it appears that Orion certainly has, as well as Romulus, must have an island adjacent or something.
Well, Doctor Who, Christopher Eccleston said it back best, didn't he? Earth isn't the only planet with norths.
Exactly. And we're seeing more and more in Star Trek, so...
I mean, obviously, I'm against all these Northerners taking over the planet, but let's go with it. To me, it was just the fact that, this guy does deserve to lose his ship. If the guy managed to talk you out of kind of like he's going to say, right, give me a command code. No, I'm going to cook for you. All right, then. I'm dick.
Well, he isn't the captain, though, is he? He's sort of being left as a mock captain.
Yeah.
Amok again, you see. It all gets back to Amok time. But yeah, it's like if the guy managed to talk you out of like giving them a command code so he can cook. I don't care who behind you is going. It's like, well, you're cooking.
I would have made them all rock turtle soup.
Yeah.
Now he does, though. I know we've praised Angel as a villain, and we'll talk about Cybok when we get to the end. But surely this guy must be one of the greatest villains so far in Strange New World because he messes up Pike's hair.
I mean, he deserves to die for that alone.
Yeah, he's got him tied to a chair and he messes it up. So not happy with that. But as you say, Pike manages to negotiate, I'm going to cook a meal for you. And I like when he's like, well, let's talk over dinner then. Come on, we can.
If it was any other actor, no one else could get away with that because it's such a ridiculous idea that it's like he talked him out of giving the command code so he can cook dinner. That's just stupid. But he makes it work.
To me, this is one of the best callbacks to the original series because how many times was Kirk in this sort of situation and he came up with something stupid that got him out of it.
Oh, we did, but cooking, that's the stupidest yet.
But Kirk often used to come up with silly things, didn't he?
Yeah, the game of Fizzbin in, what do they call it, a piece of the action is a little bit sillier than cooking.
It's on a par. Mind you, Corbomite Maneuver was one of the best ones. Like, that was just... And that was so Kirk as well. Like, that's what I like about this. It's sort of very Pike to be able to be fast-talking enough to get away with cooking a meal as opposed to giving codes. Whereas with Kirk, it's more like, nope, if you go shoot our ship, it will blow up with a bigger react. Like, it had to be war-based, basically, for Kirk to, or battle-based.
I do... one thing I do want to, and it's a very minor criticism, but the previously bit that we're getting at the start, it has got the little bit where they show Pike cooking for the crew, and it's like, I really don't need a previously on to remind me that Pike can cook.
Pike can
like, it's not that crucial to the plot. Like, it's all right.
I was wondering, like, that didn't click with me because I was wondering, like, why are they? Because especially on the second watch, I was watching out for the clips from the beginning. It's like, why are they showing him at the dinner? And I didn't even click that it was because he's cooking.
I think it's one of them things as well because we're all in standalone episodes, and I think that they've got used to telling serialized stories.
Yeah,
and they're sort of like, oh, what we're going to put in the previously.
Well, you don't have to have one. I mean,
Yeah.
We don't have to have one at all.
Give it
We
the
don't
week
have
off.
to be reminded every episode of the characteristics of the crew
What
because they're actually doing a really good job of establishing what the crew are like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we get
a
to
couple of
know
scenes
them.
maybe to remind us of T'Pring and that kind of thing, and then
Yeah.
you're done.
What I think is all these idiots that you got who, let's take the Star Wars sequels as an example. The ones who went, well, why can Rey fly the Millennium Falcon? We don't know. We've not seen her train to fly the Millennium Falcon. Like, so I think this is people going, look, we've shown you we can cook. It's not a skill we've just introduced. So don't start with that shit.
Oh, you see, that's just so ridiculous. Because every time someone who's got a driver's license gets in a new car, they don't know how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the equivalent of that argument.
It is just ridiculous. It's like, are you sure you're not picking up on this specifically because it's a female character? No, it's not to do with that. But how come she knows how to use the Force and blah, blah, blah? It just shuts
Because it just makes sense they'd have a common steering system, at least. You know, the ships are going to be different, but if you can...
And she worked for Umcar on Jakku, and she was a scavenger, so he's probably showed her out. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah.
But this is why I think we have to be so condescending in these previously ons. Just go, look, Pike knows how to cook, so when he says you don't have to have a melt YouTube, so calm down. So back
we have skipped over a bit that I really enjoyed in this episode. Before they get to the Squall, when they're going through the asteroid belt and you've got Antares, and you say you'll have to fly manual, and she's there really in the zone, and she goes,
"Oh yeah,
actually, I like flying manual. I feel a bit like I feel close to the ship, a bit like we're getting to third base."
Oh no, it was first date or third date, blind date. That was a nice little bit of dialogue and a very suits her character.
Third date is further than third.
Well,
date.
he told her in another one to fly close, hadn't he?
Yeah, they did a call back to her
and make it like you're on a third date, and she's explaining how she feels.
Yeah,
just like a third date. It was almost slightly flirty between them.
It was. We've still not had our full-on Ortegas episode, but we are getting these nuggets and getting to know us.
No, instead we're going to have 8 episodes with T'Pring.
Yeah, well, she's the most important character. So, back to Angel then and the manipulation of Spock. So, there's this whole thing about, my husband was Vulcan and he got killed because he followed logic. And if he'd have only given in to his fear, it'd have been okay. So they're planting those seeds again. Like, maybe this isn't the best idea. And so I like all of that stuff. And they even go as far as the bit with the phaser. Like Spock offers a phaser and Angel says, "Oh, no, I'm not I'm not
a warrior. I'm not a fighter.
I'm not a warrior." And he says, after what you've told me, I'm sure you are. So it goes that far that it's like the bit with Hans Gruber and the gun in Die Hard, where McClane gives him a gun and you're like, don't give him the gun. And but then it turns out McClane's actually got the upper hand in that. But it's kind of like that, like the manipulation they're doing on Spock is so much that I'm going to make you insist that I take a gun, which I'm then going to use to overpower you. Like, it's very arrogant, but it shows that, like I said earlier on, they're playing him like a fiddle, They've got Spock sussed out here. And then, we talked about Pike even, and he's mutiny. I do like that they do it just like Chinese whispers sort of thing, like, oh, you don't want to give us to the Klingons? Well, I think I will give you to the Klingons.
But the Klingons kill everyone who deals with them.
Yeah. And then once Spock releases the command codes, then this is where we find out that Dr. Aspen is actually Angel. And I love how the performance just changes like that. It goes from this almost a little bit standoffish medical to dialing the ham right up. And it'd be so easy to make a balls of that and it just not work whatsoever. And you just go, but she does such a great job with it that I really love Hammy Angel. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, she is. I mean, the performance is just amazing. Yeah.
And then this is where your mate T'Pring comes back in then. So it's all a plot to get Spock, to blackmail T'Pring, to let this mysterious Vulcan go. And at this point, you're thinking, all right, well, they've lied about the husband being dead. So it must be that. But I didn't see the Cybok twist coming.
No.
I mean, when Spock first sort of starts talking about that Vulcan knowing who it is, it was that moment that I kind of, for some reason, Cybok came to my mind.
I didn't until he said.
No, I didn't. Not until he said Cybok.
I don't know why. I think it's just I've been so on alert for the fact that they love calling back kind of like characters which we've seen in other Star Treks. I think I've always had it in my mind they bring in Cybok at some stage.
Yeah.
So when he first started talking about it, I don't know, that clicked for me.
Never occurred to me, but
No.
I think it could be a genius move. But
It could be, but I'm not sure if Spock and Cybok should actually meet based on Star Trek 5. That is, I'm not the young child you remember.
True. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to be the last time they met.
I mean, you're a child, I suppose, as a Vulcan, you're a child for quite, or maybe it's just how Spock sees himself once he goes on whatever emotional journey he's going to go on to get to be Leonard Nimoy's Spock. Maybe he thinks of Ethan Peck Spock as a child. I don't know.
I mean, to me, it just reminds me of like, with my brothers, when we get together and we're bickering, it feels like we go back to childhood sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, you go into old patterns with families sometimes. So it doesn't have to be the last time they met. I could see that dialogue still working if they've met since.
I mean, Star Trek 5's not known for having the greatest dialogue ever written. So
No. Let's hope if they're bringing Cybok in, they can redeem Star Trek 5 and we can get rock monsters.
Oh, can you imagine?
I want rock monsters.
I'm in for that.
Really good.
But I think this is one of the characters which is a bit more ripe for exploring a bit more because we only see him in one movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the other ones which they brought in, sometimes I do think it's like, they have relied on quite a few legacy characters, some which are more explored than others. But yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of like the thing of, and I've heard people sort of discuss this before when you talk about like how prevalent remakes of films are in Hollywood. So it's like they always pick the classics. Like we don't need a remake of RoboCop. We don't need a remake of whatever, But what would be so much more interesting is if you took films that weren't classics and didn't quite work, but had a kernel of a great idea in them.
Yeah, they were just badly executed.
Yeah, and did them better. That'd be great. And it's like they're doing that. Like, you can redo Khan, but it's not going to be as good as the original Khan. Because that's the universe.
That's why Into Darkness for me is a bad movie, a weak movie.
Oh, I've said it before.
I never said bad movie. No, it ain't a bad movie. It's not right because the Wrath of Khan was such a great movie.
It's not a great Star Trek movie.
And why the character's called Khan? Look, I know again it was a Spaniard playing an Indian in the original thing, which wasn't ideal. But just make him out and out white just seems like a greater sin, It's like
But yeah, so the idea of let's take a character that's not universally beloved from a film that is certainly not universally beloved, and let's see if we can do something interesting with him. I think it takes a hell of a lot of balls to do it, especially in your first season. Like we know we've got a lot of goodwill because everyone loved Pike in Discovery and people been clamoring for this show. But that's a big swing to go, okay, we're going to bring Cybok into it. And if they pull it off, just brilliant.
I mean, the Marvel movies did it with Thor: The Dark World. They brought that into the end game of it all.
Yeah.
And it worked brilliantly. And now, that movie's more interesting for what happened afterwards, which is a magic trick, basically.
Yeah,
and for me, the only thing I want to see, I'm with you on the rock monsters, definitely, Elliot. I'm with you on Cybok coming back. One thing I want to see is I want him to be flanked with a load of hippie Vulcans playing the lute or whatever, musical instruments they're playing.
You know what they should do? Yeah, if they want to, that's the challenge. If you really want to get the crap stuff that everybody hated, get the space hippies from the Way to Eden and have them as side
I bloody love that episode. I mean, it's cheesy as hell. It's not because it's great, but it's very enjoyable to watch. It's so bad it's good as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, okay. We'll see. But
it's in the worst episode of season 3.
Oh, and it's so funny. Again, it's like Spock's brain. Okay, it's not good for the right reasons.
I'm looking forward to when we do Spock's brains because I've got a totally different view of it.
Oh, I love it, but just because
I love Spock's brain.
Well, yeah.
And I know it's rated as one of the worst episodes ever, but everyone is wrong.
Okay.
I mean, I'm still for so bad it's good. So I am a fan, but maybe not for the same reasons as you Elliot.
That's definitely one of our live from the pub episodes.
Well, that's one that we want to do at the weekend if the let us.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's what we're pitching for the weekender.
Yeah, we're trying to get
when Star Trek goes bad.
Nice.
But looking at what people think of as the cheesy or worst episodes.
All I'm saying is Spock's brain, though, I feel like has to be its own episode. It can't be when Star Trek goes bad with that being part of it. It's got to have its own episode.
We need a full plot for that one.
Yeah.
So then we get the performance of Spock's actually in love with Chapel. And it's very much like when Picard pretended to be in love with Loxana in that episode. It's a little bit tight on Chapel because Spock clearly knows that she has feelings for him.
This is why I think that their friendship starts to break down. I think they've played them up as being good friends, and I think this is the start of the breakdown of their friendship
what
we see in the original series.
Because this is crossing
because Christine, Nurse Chapel, is hurt by this.
Yeah,
I agree, but I don't think they're going to do this early. I think they're going to want to use that relationship going forward. The way they've sort of set stuff up, it seems like they're going to use that going forward.
Yeah.
But to me, it was the fact that he used the same line to her as he did with T'Pring. That seemed creepy.
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
You know me well. You know me well. Creepy. I don't want creepy Spock.
I think the implication is that Spock also has feelings for her, but we'll just have to wait and see how it all pans out.
Maybe he actually does have an affair with Christine.
Maybe he does.
Maybe this is where it goes pear-shaped.
Maybe that's why they're so frosty with each other. I don't know.
Again, it seems too creepy.
And maybe that's why Christine denies knowing T'Pring in the mock time.
Could be, yeah.
Because she doesn't want to know that woman. I deny that she exists.
You go into Chapel's. Sorry, mate.
I was saying she has like a memory blotted out specifically of T'Pring.
I just love the idea that you go to Nurse Chapel's. Nurse Chapel's in sickbay going, it's like, no, I've never heard of this woman. She goes back to her quarters. You just see the shrine to Spock with a big cross through T'Pring.
Yeah. Yeah, she has to go throw a few extra knives at it to get the anchor out. Then we get the pirate bit, which is just good fun. You know, the Pike makes the save, and
I like how I love how the pirate ship actually has a wheel.
Yeah, it's got a wheel.
And the first thing he says is just get the hell out of my chair. That's nice.
Yeah.
I love captains being too precious about their chairs. There's something very enjoyable about that.
Yeah.
It's very sort of Harrison Ford in Air Force One, you know, the get off my plane, that everybody loved that line, and it's like Pike's version of that.
Well, it's like that moment in Star Trek 2009 where you've got like Kirk's in the chair and Spock's going out of the chair. It's just lots of fun every time.
It is. And then Angel escapes because, as we find out, Angel seems to be Cybok's second in command, so that's going to be good fun.
To be fair, we actually saw the ship.
Yeah, we did.
Angel escapes into right at the beginning when they were going through the asteroids.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to very quickly I do also love in the same scene where he's going out of my chair. Like at the end, it's like, and could you beam this back over? We might have been a bit premature. The mutiny's still happening.
Yeah,
wonderful comedy moment. Classic Star Trek.
I do like that they've used the command codes to take back over.
Yeah.
Which is what they did in the Wharf of Khan.
Yeah.
They played someone and not knowing that they could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reveal of the ongoing mutiny, it's a good play with camera angles because it's right, we've got a really tight focus shot on Pike to get the pirate gag, and then we pull back and it's still chaos. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
And yeah, then Pike does his little pirate impression right at the end.
Oh, mateys.
Is there any other captain you can think of from a Star Trek show who get away with that? Only Pike.
Yeah, probably.
Kirk would take himself too seriously.
Maybe Cisco.
Oh no, Cisco's definitely too kind of like Action Jackson for that. I can't picture Janeway doing it. Burnham definitely not. I just none of them.
Archer.
Maybe Archer.
I think Janeway would probably be the next most likely to my mind. But yeah.
I feel like she had to be particularly serious to not undermine the first female lead captain in a Star Trek show. So I feel like she could have done it for that reason. I think she's got the chops to do it, but I can see why they didn't have her doing stuff like that.
Yeah, on the bridge, she wouldn't have done it. But on the holodeck, though, so there's that bit where she hustles Pooh.
Janeway does some questionable things on the holodeck.
And Chaotica.
We won't get into some of the stuff she gets up to on the holodeck. But then, yeah, T'Pring and Spock then. So T'Pring knew it was all a blag, blah, blah, blah. But when she says, like, oh, obviously I know that you had to tap into your human half to pretend to have feelings for Chapel. And
no, to make it look so intimate,
so realistic, yeah. And there is just that little, they let the moment just sit for a second so that you can go, I'm not so sure, T'Pring, you know.
Yeah.
You might be underestimating Spock here.
I don't know. I thought that was one of the great moments where, for me, I thought she was sort of saying that even though she didn't believe it. Like, she seemed a bit pissed off, but that seemed perfectly Vulcan to play it that way. Like, you know, it's sort of under the surface that she's annoyed, but she's not letting on. I feel like she was trying to convince herself that it was all an act.
Maybe. It could play that way. And then, like you said, Spock goes to see Chapel and, says the same thing to her, which is a bit weird. And
creepy.
It does feel like they're both lying to each other. Like, she's like, well, I know there's no feelings from you. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, but it's the way that she's doing it with her back to him and walking away and all that. And and this is why I think that this is the start of the friendship breaking down.
To me, the killer line was, because I know you're not the kind of guy who'd be betrothed to someone and then chatting me up. You know, it's like that was very loaded, that line. That was really nice.
Yeah, issues of whether this will fit with the mock time or not aside, we've just got to trust the writers that it will eventually. It's a really interesting story and dynamic to be playing out, and everybody's acting it really, really well. So anyway, the big reveal then. So yes, Cyborg, and he's still got the same hair.
Yeah,
and that's all we see of him. It makes you wonder have they cast him yet, do you think? Or could it get this season? Or is this going to be, we've seen the back of his head.
Like, is this a teaser for next season or something?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I didn't even consider that. I just assumed they were going to pick that up kind of pretty much straight afterwards. But no, you're right. There's no reason that they have to.
Yeah, I mean, I did at first, but then I thought, hang on.
If it was a serialized show, it'd be picked up pretty quick. But this isn't a serialized show. This is episodic. So we might be 10 episodes down the line, and we might get a previously.
Yeah,
that'll just show this scene.
Yeah, because I had a sort of feeling. I've had this feeling throughout the series that I know which characters or which baddies are likely to reappear, which characters are likely to, and which aren't. It sort of seems like they leave stuff open, like with that planet where they where it's all sounds.
Yeah,
that seemed like pretty ripe to get done, because he says at the end, it's like, we don't know what happened, we don't know why this happened, we don't know what happened to the people who are there, how many more of these kind of planets are there. So that seems set up for a redo. You've got the Gorn, definitely. I think again, I think they would be making a mistake if they don't make them the Klingons of this series. And I think that, you know, this is another one where it's definitely set up to but no, I think that would be very interesting. I think it would be better, in fact, to let it cool and then bring it back in the next series, maybe.
Yeah, I've already heard people saying, Cyborg's going to be the big bad of the season. It's like, I'm not sure we're going to have a big bad of the season. It's not big bad. comes from the term originally was from Buffy when it was serialized, and there was a big bad guy every season, and that's what the season was structured around. But we're not doing that with Strange New Worlds. So, if season finale we get Cybok and Angel, I'm up for that. But I'm quite happy to have them be like the Q or Loxana of this show and pop up.
That you maybe see one episode a season.
I mean, my guess is the season closer, I'm going to call it now, I reckon Gorn. Again, I think Gorn just did two. They were so well set up. I never considered them. I love it when they take a character which just appeared in one episode previously. Oh, okay, they were in Enterprise, I know, before anyone says
Let's try to pretend they weren't in Enterprise.
Yeah, let's pretend they weren't. Good point. But you know what I mean? It's like, primarily they were used in one episode and that was it. So I love it when then they then see the potential in that to then expand it out. They did such a good job in that episode. I feel like we'd be robbed if we don't get a lot more of them.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think the thing that we've got to be careful of, because we've seen 7 episodes, and how we used to see Star Trek, 7 episodes isn't a lot. No. I mean, episodic TV, we've got to be careful that we don't go, oh, we want to see that again. We episodic, we can have loads and loads of different things. We don't have to go to the Gorn.
And this is the great thing, that just about every episode this season we've said, I won't mind a sequel to that episode.
Yeah. Which is a great thing that they've done, that they've been able to create that every episode has been strong. Even the bad episode, which would we say is the weakest episode?
Last one for me.
I'm not sure. I don't.
Yeah, I like that.
Maybe Spock and Mock for me.
Yeah, but
the last one I just
episode.
For me, last week, I mean, again, the acting, the performances, and the writing in individual scenes I love. But they did nothing during that episode effectively. They didn't change anything, and they just lost at the end. Who wants that? Like, for me, I don't want that.
Well, episode. I think that sets up more than any other episode for a sequel, a follow-up episode. That you do go back and make it better.
Well, we'll see how we feel at the end of the season. Next week might be an absolute clanker, but are we still betting on Ortegas, or do we think, does anyone want to change the bet?
No, I want an Ortegas still. I still want an Ortegas.
I want an Ortegas because I really like the character, what I'm seeing of her. And I really want to see a big Ortegas episode.
We're definitely due an Ortegas episode. So I'm getting the sense that Hemmer is just a recurring guest star, really, rather than a main crew member. But everyone else has had a bit of a time to shine. Like, we've not had a Mabenga episode, but we've had him have substantial subplots in a couple of episodes.
It's, in effect, he's had an episode woven throughout the episode. You know, he's had his arc, so he's been served.
Feels like
Ortegas feels a lot like what Sulu was in the original series, that it was there and doing his job and a bit of back and forward with the captain, but nothing major. And then suddenly we had what is it? Where we went fencing.
Oh yeah, Naked Time.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, Naked Time. We suddenly had that, and it like, wow, Sulu's amazing.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for me, I feel like I could sort of work out what an episode with any other characters would be. I don't know with her, and that excites me. You know, I don't know what an episode with her would look like, and that's great.
I still feel like I know Ortegas better than I know Reese or Bryce, though.
Yeah.
Oh, damn right.
I know Hemmer better than I know them.
Yes,
yeah.
True.
I mean, you say Hammer's a minor character, but he had a kind of fairly meaty bit with Uhura in one of the episodes,
he's had more substance than what they've done with the bridge crew of Discovery.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right then, well, that about wraps us up on this one. So we'll find out next week. What will it be? Episode 9 next week. So
episode 8.
Episode 8. Right. So we got 3 left. So we are moving towards the finale, but we've heard.
What do we get after this? Do we get Lower Decks or do we get Prodigy again?
I don't think it's been announced. We might, shock horror, have a week without Star Trek.
I thought Prodigy was a little while off.
We don't know.
I'm not sure.
Because I just seem to remember we said that, because they said that the next series of Prodigy is going to be the second half of the first series. And I seem to remember it was in a different year though.
No, they said 2022. They've
Oh,
just
they
not
did.
said-
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Lower Decks next, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's Lower Decks by the rotation, isn't it?
Because there's been a trailer for that as well, so that would be more apt to be next.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's happened to Captain Freeman.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have some news on that next time. But in the meantime, Dr. Squee, what have you got coming up?
Honestly, I don't know. So I'm just going to plug the YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Dr. Squee. We've now got our own catchy little URL, DOCTOR, full word Squee, SQUE. And you can catch interviews with Alexander Siddig, Ronald B. Moore, not to be confused with the writer, but he's the special effects maestro, and loads of other Star Trek people.
While you're on YouTube, check out Retrek Model Studios, where Elliot's building various different models on there.
Yeah, I had a new video came out at the weekend of the CVN 65, the Big E aircraft carrier.
Yeah, so check those out. And also you can find numerous episodes of the podcast on there. Or you can come and join us on Facebook or Twitter at RetrekPod, or email us retrekpod@gmail.com.
Can I just say that Elliot building those ships, like I'm not really into shipbuilding and stuff, but it's like watching Bob Ross paint is just so relaxing. Watching Elliot, and it must be so frustrating when you're like feeding all those lights through, but you make it look so effortless. It's so fun.
There's no lights on the aircraft carrier.
Oh, it just meant generally like you can do something really fiddly, and it's so relaxing to watch because you.
Ship I had to build from scratch.
Because if it was me doing it, it'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, go through that. Oh, bloody hell, the decal's gone in the wrong place. It would not be relaxing at all.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it, but it's
once I'm finished with this aircraft carrier, I'm getting this finished, and then we're back into electronic builds because I've got all my setups sorted out now.
There we go. So thanks for trekking with us this time, and we will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wrong video.
Fascinating.